Hi everyone, I'm Ankolika, a PhD candidate in the College of Information Sciences and Technology, and along with my co-author Dr. Zhicong Lu, I am presenting our paper, #Poets of Instagram, Navigating the Practices and Challenges of Novice Poets on Instagram. So first, let's go through an overview of the presentation. I will start by going through some background information about the topic, which will also provide a motivation for the study. Moving on, I'll go to the research questions that we hope to answer through this study. I'll then go through the methodology of the paper and eventually reporting our findings, contributions, and finish up the presentation with a conclusion and some future work possibilities. So first of all, let's go through the background and motivation. So this study is heavily based on the Instagram poetry community, which grew influential as certain poets like Rupi Kaur and Atticus boasted of more than 1 million followers. And a few researchers in different domains also have studied this community. One particular study providing us with the information that this dynamic platform for poetry, in fact, helped in refurbishing poetry at a time when it's fading. And this community is unique in the sense that it boasts of many novice young poets who use the visual centered platform, which is Instagram, which is heavily visual focused, in an unconventional manner to share their poetry, which is in fact extremely textual in nature. So a little bit more about some information, background information in HCI, where we situate our study. So social media platforms have catalyzed a paradigm shift in content creation. So they have empowered a diverse spectrum of users to actively participate in sharing and creation processes, which has been researched by many HCI scholars. And they have, in fact, uh, highlighted how this has caused like a democratization and fostered an unprecedented proliferation of creative expression, evident in communities such as the Instagram poetry community, where users harness the platform's feature to propagate like a traditional art form in an innovative manner. But amidst this landscape, there exists a significant research gap. So, while extensive studies have illuminated the behaviors and motivations of professionalized content creators, there remains a dearth of understanding regarding novice creators who may not necessarily seek commercialization. And this gap becomes particularly pronounced because we consider novice creators' interactions with platform algorithms and the intricate labor dynamics that they encounter. And these interactions and labor dynamics have been talked about a lot in the professionalized settings, but not so much for novice creators. And there has also been like research on creative labor and authenticity within the context of content creation, such as in the professional creator space. But there's a need to extend this inquiry to encompass novice creators and understanding how creative labor and authenticity manifest in the work of novice creators can really provide valuable insights into their experiences and motivations. And these complexities, unraveling them, it is imperative for gaining deeper insights into the evolving nature of content creation and broader ramifications of user generated content. Again, a heavily researched area in shaping digital ecosystems. So, with that in mind, we ask, why do novice poets share their poetry on Instagram? What are the values and practices of the poetry community on Instagram? And how do these novice poets of Instagram perceive the recommendation algorithms of Instagram? And how does this perception impact their practices? So let me now move on to the methodology. Here, we used qualitative methods, particularly in analyzing Instagram posts and interview transcripts. How posts were collected were by using hashtags on Instagram and selecting a subset of those posts through particular methodological means, which have been detailed in the paper. And recruitment happened via purposeful sampling, in which the author used her own personal connections to reach out to people using Instagram DMs, and then snowball sampling of these personal contacts as well. For the analysis, we used an inductive, iterative, thematic analysis. There were 3 rounds of open coding. After each round, the two authors met, deliberated, and reached consensus upon the codes. And after that, there were 2 rounds of focus coding. So for the posts, based on iterations with the interview, we checked for relationships between visual and textual content and other such similar things, basically factors that were highlighted during our interviews. So how this went was we had semi-structured interviews with the participants where the emphasis was on shared ideas and goals and building rapport based on shared experiences. This is how we made the participants, who were in fact novice creators, feel comfortable. And the questions were regarding their practices, experiences with the algorithm and creative labor. So each interview lasted for around 30 to 57 minutes. And there was, like I said, an iterative and simultaneous qualitative content analysis of posts. And both interview and post data guided our analysis. So some examples of first level codes were emotional feedback and selling out for fame. But for the focus level coding, we ensured that all of the themes that emerged could be categorized into our two research questions. So before I move on to the findings, I want to talk about our positionality with respect to the paper. So the first author was a complete member type researcher, meaning that I was already a part of the poetry community. And the second author was an outside member. So this combination helped us be objective as well as understand the nuances and context better. And while the first author was the one who was involved in the interviews, she like we discussed, based off the interviews or started off the interviews with shared experiences to ensure that the findings that were shared with us were authentic and without feelings of being judged. Let's move on to the findings now. So, here, the first part, we explicate what motivations, values, and practices of this poetry community is. First, motivations for using Instagram. As you can see here with P9's comment, Instagram is very important and helpful in giving instant feedback. Second, control over readership. Here P12 says, I can control who reads my poetry, and if I want to block someone or archive something at any point, I can do that too. So here they talk about this dynamic way of controlling their readership at a novice level, which is very helpful. Now, when we talk about values and practices of the poetry community, there are a few more highlighted in the paper, but in the presentation, I'm focusing on these two. Selling out for visibility and upholding community values. Here from P4's quote, you can see that they say that certain posts that really do well on Instagram are just about trending topics to get thousands of likes, they say. And they declare how they don't see how real voices can succeed in a platform focused on engagement this way. Similarly, another unique value of the community was how P10 talked about how the community kept plagiarism in check and how they use this community oriented method to ensure that content was original and content was authentic. Finally, algorithmic superficiality. Here you can see P6's quote. They say, I love Instagram. I love that it's so easy to use and everything. All the templates are already built. But Instagram doesn't understand me. It's not for creatives like us. It pretends to. I think it just gets the pictures. It's doing what I would call judging the book by its cover, in the sense that it judges the poems with the picture. And this harms us because what do? Should we follow our heart or should we please the algorithm? Here, P6 talks about how it's difficult to share a textual art form on an algorithm that is purely trained on images. Next, challenges of algorithmic mediation for for novice creatives. Algorithmic hindrance towards growth. Here, the participant shares that I used to think more attractive pictures were what drove the algorithm. So I started putting pictures that had no relation to the poem, and it kind of makes me sad. But otherwise, Instagram just doesn't share my stuff. Here, we see certain ways in which these novice creatives mediate their algorithmic process and their algorithmic experience, particularly in trying to use Instagram in such an unconventional manner. Second, algorithmic isolation of non monetizing creatives. Here, P5 talks about how Instagram only has features to help creatives who want to monetize from it. And that isolates people and rather doesn't amplify the work that has no monetizing features associated with it. Third, algorithmic hindrance towards authenticity. Here, P5 shares again. I do 5 posts, and then on the sixth one, I generally incorporate some stuff that I find is trending. Otherwise, none of my work gets seen by anyone. They talk about how this attempt to appease the algorithm makes them be a little inauthentic at times because they have to ensure that their work gets seen to actually get the motivation that they initially started on Instagram for. Next, algorithmic favoring of themes. Again, this goes back to how some poets think that some others sell out on visibility, and they say how there's a particular favoring of themes. And they say, you've seen famous poets on social media, right? They write about popular topics and get tons of likes. Next, algorithmic induced quality degradation. Consequently, because of this favoring of themes, poets notice that larger accounts that actually end up becoming very big, is it basically has work that is not good quality because it's only this kind of quality that the algorithm supports. So here I provide a unique perspective of novice content creators. First, I contextualize how it's important for them to have an authentic ability to express on Instagram. So they use Instagram for genuine self-expression and diverging from the general norms of content creation. Second, community support and creativity. Participatory culture fosters creativity through feedback and interaction here. And next, we talk about visibility challenges and authenticity. So poets navigate platform algorithms, but try to also preserve authenticity. And this balancing growth and balancing visibility with authenticity often hinders their creative flow and discourages them. Impact of algorithmic influence. Here, poets talk about how algorithms favor popular content, limiting exposure for niche poetry. And this leads to some kind of homogenization that discourages diverse perspectives and they in general hinder community diversity. Finally, supporting novice creatives. I argue here that creatives contribute significantly to a platform's success and content diversity. And neglecting this support kind of stifles diversity and marginalizes creative voices. Next, I draw from recent literature on redefining creative labor, which has been done in a work by Simpson and Simon, on the definition being how the routine enactment of creative labor is impacted by infrastructural elements of technology. To define algorithmically mediated creative labor as the exertion of effort by creatives, particularly novices, in efficiently navigating platforms, monetizing bias to pursue their creative endeavors. Here, if you look at creative labor and algorithmic labor, which is something that all creators on algorithmic systems have to perform, so, this creative labor is impacted by platform logic, platform capitalism, and other infrastructural elements of technology. Similarly, algorithmic labor is perceived to be higher when the creator does not use monetizing features, as can be seen in our findings, how they are isolated. And so, together, for novices who are not attempting to monetize, it becomes difficult to achieve visibility. And this unique kind of labor I have termed as algorithmically mediated creative labor. And we recommend that in this way, a lot of novice creatives are stifled and marginalized on online communities. So here I provide some design implications with two pivotal categories, authenticity and growth, two of the areas that are in tension while novice creatives attempt to navigate through the algorithmic processes. First, flexibility and community-based curation to improve authenticity. Here, Instagram and other platforms could introduce optional features allowing creators to tag their posts as original or as a build up on something else. So this can cater to users who want to either seek authentic content or want to see similar content to other things, which is what the recommendation system generally pursues. Equity and growth. Here, fair visibility for novice content creators to support their growth should be pursued. And implementing features such as opt in discovery sections or recommendation feeds dedicated to emerging creators can be helpful. Platforms can also encourage community-based curation through user-generated tags, and this can empower users to shape recommendations and foster a collective voice, which is what authentic creatives want. Finally, I conclude my work with some future directions where I believe that exploring non-monetizing communities like grassroots organizations and DIY artists can be very helpful. And the impact of technological advancements on less mainstream creators' ability to adapt to algorithmic changes is also important. So that's all for my presentation, and thank you so much. If there are any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.